Thursday, George Bourne was talking about the latest Meryl Streep movie, Hope Springs, which centres on the marriage of a couple who undertake a week of relationship counselling initiated in an attempt to save their marriage, which seems to have lost its spark. Seems to mirror many issues faced by couples here in Ireland. So here to tell us a little bit and give a bit of advice from Relationships Ireland is Lisa O'Hara. Lisa, good morning. How are you today?
I'm well, Tom. How are you?
You went to the movie yourself.
I did a few weeks ago. I was lucky to be invited to a pre-screening. So, it was very, I thought it was very real.
You cried?
I did, yeah. And I actually was really, I had moments there where I just felt that, God, this couple they mirror so many couples, really, who've been in long-term relationships, who start off with great passion, great interest in each other, great kind of commitment to the relationship. They parent together, and then something happens and it starts to just lose its momentum, it loses its energy. Until eventually, without going into the film, he's left reading the newspaper and she's making his breakfast, and there's very little going on between them,
Strikes fear of God into people. I have to say, I read two stories I read one story, and it was about a woman out on, it was in the Irish Times last week, a woman out on a kind of a coffee date or a nice drink, and I got one of her mates, and she said, in an ideal world, if you're only allowed, one night with your ideal man, who would he be? And after thinking about it for a long time, she said her husband.
Yeah.
That she hadn't slept with him in so long. She thought, I'd like that.
Yeah.
The other side of that, I know a man who works in the fitness industry, and he was saying people talk to him like they talk to a hairdresser. And men tell them, haven't had sex in 2 years, haven't had sex in 3 years, and they're not happy about it. They're sad about it, is the word he used.
And I suppose two things can happen there. They can either tell their partner, I'm really missing not having sex. I'm a bit lonely. I really want you. She may also be doing that bit about, you don't seem to be around much anymore, and I need help here, and I want us to go out and do things, and somehow it goes unheard. And I suppose the other thing that happens is that, you can get very angry about it, or you can withdraw and somehow kind of shut down. And with this couple, I think that's what happened. The resentment or the anger or the sadness or whatever, it just kind of shut everything down. And so passion then will actually just leave.
What's the number one reason that happens, do you think?
I don't think there's a number one. I think there's a few things in there. I think there's expectation. And a bit like, you'll always be there for me when I want it, and only when I want it, and maybe not taking into consideration where the other person is at, and then seeing possibly what they're not giving you as a form of rejection. So the other thing is their ability to be able to communicate that to each other. And I know communication might sound like a bit of it's a kind of a broad word, but really it's about, me being able to say to you, if you're my partner, I just miss you, and I feel we're losing something here. And for them to be able to say, God, I didn't realise you felt like that, or listen, I'm really sorry. This is where I'm at the moment. Can we arrange to maybe do something on whatever? So that sense of just connecting. But what actually often happens is it's said you hear criticism, and males are particularly sensitive to criticism, and women are particularly sensitive to being ignored. So if she feels she's being ignored by him, she's going to go into a heightened state of anxiety, as will he. Right. If he feels he's being criticised. And so what happens is there's sort of a fear system gets triggered off, and they won't really feel connected. And the really good thing about, say, somebody coming in to see a professional is that they'll understand, and they actually help them to unpack it a little bit, to see what exactly happened here. Very often you'll find that it was a misunderstanding, or somebody just felt really hurt by something that was completely unintentional. And so counselling can be very, very helpful in that particular,
Right. Is there a situation where you can leave it too late? I presume, but it is, I'm just thinking, if people are listening to this and starting to go, God, I hear a bit of our relationship in that. Yeah. Should they be asking themselves, how long has it been like this?
Well, I would always ask that with a couple or an individual who comes in. Sometimes the partner doesn't want to come in. That's okay. But I'd always say, when did you notice it changing? Because that'll often give you a clue to what was going on in the person's life. It's usually accompanied by loss. And it might be, we had a baby. He lost his job. We moved house. I changed job, my father died, my mother died. Sometimes it's multiple losses, so more than one loss. And it's just hard to recover, because when you're in loss, you're in a state of heightened emotion, and anything that can be, you could see your partner doing something that just makes it feel sharper, if you like, because you're actually in a grieving phase. Okay. So,
would there be kind of red flag things that you should be looking out for to ask yourself, what we're having now is actually dangerous?
Yeah, I think apathy. Sometimes anger is, if you're not having sex, the passion can play out in anger. And as soon as you have sex, the anger kind of goes away. So that's one thing. Apathy is it's actually, I won't say it's the death knell, but I'd be looking to see, is that permanent, or is it just somebody is shut down because it hurts too much to feel?
Right. People are saying that the movie is very true to life in terms of how they approach it. One of the things I heard about, I haven't seen it yet, is that they get them to talk about what attracted them to each other in the first place.
Yeah. In counselling, it's a part of the exploratory work we do with them, is we're just trying to find out what makes this couple work, what made them work in the past, what's happened to get them to where they are now. And one of the questions, really common questions, tell me about how you met. What attracted you to them? How did your relationship glue itself together in the beginning? And, to sit opposite that and to witness a couple actually softening, going, that we were somewhere, and they actually describe it, and you can feel the chemistry, almost like they're experiencing it in the present, but they soften, and sometimes they'll smile and laugh, and that actually tells me, usually informs me about the bond, and it informs me about maybe what we need to be working towards to get some of that back.
Right.
Maybe a long time ago, and lives are different now, and needs change, but it just gives me a bit of information to go on, so I can help them.
To think that if somebody went in and had that conversation, they could stay together and refine, and maybe not find the same old magic, but find a new type maybe.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that conversation, they could split up, and who knows where their lives will go. After that.
And it's very despairing. I mean, sometimes they come in and they say, this is our last shot. If this doesn't work, we're finished. Or she might say to him, if he makes the appointment, she might be saying, you better book us into counselling, because I'm leaving otherwise. And he's really under starter's orders. And it's I suppose, just to sort of say that, we do recognise, counsellors do recognise, it's not a natural place for most men to find themselves. If you go with nature and brain hardwiring, counselling, sit in a room and talk about your feelings, that can be very scary. So
Tommy Lee Jones is supposed to be spectacular.
Oh, incredible. It's so true to life. If I had €1 for every time I met a man like him, in the counselling room, I'd say, God, he just nailed it, as did she. And they go through the whole, again, without giving anything away, the really kind of the shame and the embarrassment that they feel when they try to fix it or get the spark back, and try to get sex back into their lives, and they're just feeling quite frightened and nervous, and yet they're willing to give it a go, and it comes together in the end. And they kind
the
of
word embarrassment is used a lot.
Oh yeah,
deep embarrassment, deep mortification,
but terrible fear around that. Because there's a huge the anxiety in there. God, if this doesn't work, I'll feel like I failed somehow.
Yeah.
And sometimes the fear of failure will actually stop you from taking a risk at all.
I'm going to talk to one of our listeners just after the news, but just quickly, advice for people if they think, I'm recognising a lot of myself in this.
Oh, God. It's very normal for relationships to go through, I would say rocky patches, but cooler patches maybe, when life kind of gets in the way of it. However, I would say if you feel you can't resolve it yourself, or somehow when you try to repair it, that actually, maybe just ring us up. You can get onto Relationships Ireland, the website, give us a ring, come in and see somebody for an hour, come in yourself, and if your partner's brave enough to come in with you, come in, and we'll just help you just to look at that a bit and see what can you do, if it's not gone too far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Relationship Ireland, the website, place to go. Lisa, thanks very much for coming. I'm going to be going to this film now in fear. And on top of that, my wife has Tommy Lee Jones in her top 3 dream men as well.
Not uncommon.
So I believe.